A big pay raise at Rutgers. Remote work is becoming something different than it once was. Unions having a winning year, and some thoughts on all these rate hikes by the Fed. All that and more as Labor This Week begins now. Hello, I'm Mark Harrison. 9,000 faculty members, graduate workers, postdoctoral associates, and counselors will return to work on Monday morning, and classes will resume at Rutgers University after the workers walked out April 10th. This was the first strike in history for the 257-year-old university and came after almost a year of unsuccessful bargaining between university officials and several of its unions. The strike garnered national attention, including from Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont, who said on Twitter, "These workers deserve a good contract with fair pay and benefits now." The tensions came to a head in New Jersey as Governor Phil Murphy invited both parties to Trenton for a marathon bargaining session that ended around midnight, with Murphy also taking to the Twittersphere, saying both sides had reached a fair and amicable conclusion that respects the interests of many stakeholders, upholds New Jersey's values, and puts an end to the standoff that was disruptive to our educators and students alike. The settlement provides a 4-year contract with wages increasing by 43% for adjunct professors and 33% for graduate workers. Importantly, the contract will be retroactive back to July 2022. We'll be right back. Even as the battle over returning to work in the office rages on, a new and disturbing trend is beginning to surface in the American workplace. Indeed, employers are realizing that remote work can be more than just a way to keep workers around. Companies are beginning to realize that offshoring jobs that can work remotely can save them tremendous amounts of money by hiring workers from other countries where they can pay far less in wages. Offshoring your jobs to India, for example, can save a company as much as 40% in labor costs. Now, during the pandemic, many workers requested to work from home and even moved to new states. So while workers were enjoying a new lifestyle, companies were fine-tuning a new business strategy. Now, according to Nicholas Bloom, an economist at Stanford University, as many as 20% of service support jobs in the U.S. could move offshore in the next decade. Of course, we all know that offshoring is not a new concept. However, what is new is that more and more companies are beginning to move highly skilled jobs abroad. Besides the technology developed over the pandemic, other factors contributing to the trend are labor shortages in certain skilled labor markets, immigration backlogs, and a lack of visas for bringing employees in from overseas. The new trend is not without its challenges, including language barriers and drastically different time zones and a more difficult training situation. However, these are problems that can be overcome, especially when companies see the potential for cost savings in office worker wages that have surged in recent years. I'll be right back with the headlines from this week. Remember to follow us on all your favorite social media sites, including Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, and Stitcher. The NLRB data is showing that labor unions won 69% of their representation elections in the first 5 months of 2023, with a whopping 88% win record in February of this year. The March data is not yet available. Elsewhere, the idea of a non-compete clause in an employment contract is surging across America. Once the purview of senior executives and radio and TV personalities, the trend is showing up in employment agreements for hairstylists, cooks, and chefs, and even security guards. A non-compete clause basically keeps you from improving your lot in life by taking a better offer for more pay and better benefits down the street with another employer who agrees to pay you more. Now, the problem is so acute that it has caused the Federal Trade Commission to propose banning the practice in employment contracts. Of course, the FTC is under tremendous pressure by corporations and the business community to not ban the practice at all. The FTC's proposal is currently out for public comment. United Airlines and its ground service workers union have reached a tentative agreement on a new contract which promises higher pay and better working conditions for the airline's 29,000 workers. The International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers Union that represents the workers has sent the new contract to its membership for ratification. Now, that vote will close on May 1st. Staying with the airline sector, Delta Airlines workers held a rally in St. Paul, Minnesota this past Saturday to push for more union representation at the carrier. The rally featured representatives from the IAM, Teamsters, AFL-CIO, the Association of Flight Attendants, CWA, as well as speakers from the Starbucks and Amazon union movements. And finally, the Pacific Maritime Association said that the International Longshore and Warehouse Union is disrupting work at the ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach by refusing to allow it to participate in the jointly administered labor dispatch process. The union has been negotiating for a new contract along the West Coast since July 2022. And while no agreement has been reached as of yet, the job actions would seem to be having some impact on some major shippers, including Walmart and Home Depot, who have been diverting their cargo that would normally move through the West Coast ports all the way to the East Coast. I'll be back with my thoughts on inflation, jobs, and the economy. Let me begin this by stating that I am not an economist, but I do have questions for all the economists and for the folks who work on Wall Street and at the Federal Reserve. And that is, why is it that you won't be satisfied until you have raised rates enough to cause pain in the jobs sector? Why is it that every month we get the jobs data and you tell us there were too many jobs created, or that wages have gotten too high? Here's the thing, inflation has gotten too high for folks who work for a living too, not just for the companies who have to take out million-dollar loans. $15 an hour is $600 a week. It's $31,200 a year. Try living on that in New York, or most major cities for that matter. Yes, inflation hurts us all, but why do we have to see the ones being hurt the most hurt even further by seeing them lose their jobs? Why is it that when Facebook lays off workers, the parent company stock at Meta goes up? Did Mark Zuckerberg take a pay cut? And even if he did it even matter to him? A reduction in hours when you're making $600 a week makes a difference. It makes a huge difference. Meta is calling this the year of efficiency, and the stock market is lapping it up with a spoon. Efficiency, as in layoffs, and then more layoffs. Meta stock is now trading above $220 a share, up from the 52-week low of 88. Now that's pretty efficient. Meta and a host of other Silicon Valley companies are based in California, where it has recently been revealed that the state has gone from a budget surplus of $100 billion a year to a deficit in January of $22 billion. That's not very efficient. California is seeing a disproportionate number of layoffs compared to the other states. Alphabet has cut some 12,000 jobs. So have the studios in Burbank and Los Angeles. They have been cutting jobs as well. The stonewalling of the longshore contract along the West Coast is having a huge effect on the state's economy as cargo diverts to the East Coast. Settle the contract. Silicon Valley Bank failed in March. Now, I am well aware that there are a myriad of factors that contributed to the bank failure and also to the layoffs, including bond prices and the inflation and the inverted yield curve. I understand all that. But what if California is truly a microcosm of the country when it comes to jobs and inflation? At what cost will the Federal Reserve manage to conquer inflation? Home sales are down because mortgage rates are up. What about getting a car loan? There comes a point on the income scale where a little bit more spent on a car loan doesn't matter. But for most of us, it does matter. It matters a lot. All of this matters. And in the end, it really does seem, during these times of turbulence, over and over again, that the rich really do seem to get richer, and the not so rich really do seem to get poorer. Think about it. I'm Mark Harrison, and I'll see you next week on Labor This Week.